Living green or sustainably is about more than saving on your electric bill and doing your part to protect natural resources. It is about a safer and healthier life for you and your family without sacrificing style, quality, or budget. This is a movement to provide all of us with clean air to breathe and water to drink, safe, healthy food to eat, and places to live, and energy to run the places where we live, learn, play, and work. The Green Gap podcast helps you get the value of green for you, your family, and your community. Whether it's green homes, green living, or the people who make it happen, join me, Marla Esser Cloos, to learn how green and sustainability practices and products work for our world and you.
We've got the Green Gap podcast on the run again, or on the go, rather to say. And we are out in the new construction row at the St. Louis Home and Garden Show. And we've been chatting it up with all kinds of folks out here. And this particular guest, Matt Belcher, is not only an old friend, not as an old in age, like I've known you a long time. But I am that too. No, we're the same age. Don't go there. But Matt is one of my heroes and a mentor, and I would not be doing what I'm doing today if it weren't for you taking me under your tutelage. The first time we went to the Builders Show and you told me where to go.
I hope I was kind.
And I just kind of felt like the shadow, but I learned, I've learned so much from you. So, Matt, you are working with Hibbs Homes.
Yes.
A part of Hibbs Homes.
Yes.
And you've also built on your own.
Oh, yeah.
You're also a published author.
Yes.
What's the name of your book?
Build Green and Save, Saving the Earth and Your Bottom Line. And it was a book written for builders that we were trying to get over the whole connotation of green and really how to incorporate the practices in your business.
You were one of the
Literally.
earliest books, too, that especially from the National Association of Home Builders side.
Yep.
You were one of the earliest
I was
ones.
fortunate. I had kind of put a draft together. Of course, you know how it goes, a draft chapter and all that. I had just mentioned in passing that I was working on it, and they told me, send it to us now.
Nice.
And they called me back that day and said, we're going to pick this up. So that was cool.
I was astonished, the process of working. So for our listeners, the National Association of Home Builders, the national organization that all the HBAs are affiliated with, also has a publishing arm called Builderbooks, and they have a consumer site called My Home Press, which is where my book was published. So not only are you working with a publisher that's got experience, they do a stellar job, I thought, in guiding me through the experience.
I agree.
I've talked to so many people that said, oh, was that just really hard? And I said, actually, the hardest thing about it was me making the time to make it happen.
Yeah.
And actually, you'd given me that advice. Now that I think about it.
Yes. The hardest part of the whole thing was just getting started, and then after that, the editor I worked with, who's unfortunately no longer with him, she was phenomenal. It was great because I'd write a bunch of text and send it to her, and she would ask me, well, explain this to me a little more, or tell me about this, and things you don't normally think about. But it was perfect because it was the average reader that was trying to solicit that information out of me, so it made for a much better end result.
Well, you are definitely a force to be reckoned with in the green home building world and realm. And I remember when you did probably the first green show that we did with NAHB, or one of the earlier ones, because that was right as I was getting into all of this in St. Louis. But you've done some really cool stuff that is, a lot of people don't know that you're the unsung hero behind a lot of that.
I don't know about that.
I'm singing at you now.
My message to especially people in the industry, especially builders, was, look, it's not rocket science. It's maybe a little building science, but if I can figure it out, believe me, you all can figure this out.
You can figure it out.
But I started out, obviously, I was a code official. I got a strong building codes background, and a lot of experience in the business. I grew up in the business, so as green building was starting to become popular in the industry and in the consumer market, I was working with code issues with the National Association of Home Builders, and one of the guys there asked me if I would sit in with a group that was trying to focus on developing some guidelines for builders to use to do this, and had put a draft together, and I was looking through that and saying, well, I do all this now. It just, it was kind of common sense type stuff.
I love it. Common sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of it was being efficient to be cost effective. What it did is we put together a checklist to follow, and I found that using that, it focused you on the really important parts of the whole process, and it improved your process. And I don't know what business person in any sort of business, we're in a manufacturing business, but that doesn't want to improve the process that way. And so that's why I thought, if I could figure it out, believe me, everybody can.
Well, it's like everything else we do in our lives. Anything we give attention to, we tend to do better at.
Right.
So that's no different with how we build a home. And we still are calling it green building, but we're seeing it just inherently in more and more homes that are being built, at least in some degree.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I was just talking to a prospective client a little while ago, and we were just talking about our ability to build better homes today compared to just 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much easier to build a better home because of the products that are out there now. It's just natural, and they're cost effective. 15 years ago, and however long it's been, a long time since we started building using those checklists and whatnot. We were trying to use water efficient fixtures, say. Well, back then
it was hard.
It was Hans Grohe or Toto, German or Japanese.
Oh my gosh,
that was all that was out there.
Yeah.
And they were high end stuff. So, but now Kohler, Moen, all these American manufacturers make them. They compete, so the price.
That's why I think that's where that myth started, that green has to be so expensive.
Exactly.
Because when we first got into all this, the fixtures and they were specialty, the things that you needed in order to truly do something above and beyond.
And back then, it really started in the custom building world because the custom builders had the flexibility to manipulate the budgets, if you will. Yeah, we used higher-end products with higher-end finishes, but we could reduce the size of the house, the square footage cost, and that sort of thing, just to make it work. There were plenty of consumers out there then that got it. When you talked about...
More so now.
You didn't really talk about green, you just talk about the process.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's greener. Well, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, and definitely more so now, thanks to authors like yourself that reach out to the consumers.
There's a lot of us just really, as you say, and I quote all the time, rising tides raise all boats.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's where that came from, folks, because if you listen to our podcast regularly, you've heard that one before.
Yes.
And it comes from Matt Belcher, author of...
Build Green and Save. Saving the earth and your bottom line.
And folks, if y'all want to find that book, and actually my book too, you can go to builderbooks.com and search all kinds of books out there related to home building. There's books for consumers. There's books about green building. There's books about home maintenance. So all kinds of stuff. And if you'll check the show notes on this episode, we will put the links up there for Builderbooks, for Hibbs Homes, to your book. And did we miss anything? I think that's it.
Cover all the high spots. The important part, we completed the checklist, so we must be good.
We got our checklist. Woo! Woohoo! HibbsHomes.com if people want to find what you're doing now. And any parting words you want to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, get out there and buy Marla's book, because it really...
Thank you.
My book is kind of a builder's perspective, but yours is a consumer's perspective, obviously a dynamic woman in the industry, pick that up and read it. Good information.
Well, hey, we appreciate you being a part of the Green Gab Podcast, and you can find this and all of our programs at greengabpodcast.com. But let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back on the Green Gab.
Hey, you want to learn more about green homes and how technology is a part of them? Then go to greenhomepcoach.com/homepro. That's HOMEPRO. There you can learn more about green homes, what makes them green, and how to put all this information to use in your home and in your business and in your practice. There's all kinds of great information out there. We appreciate you staying tuned on the Green Gab, subscribing, leaving your reviews, so we can continue to make this a better show for you to learn more about getting value from green.
Yeah, the Green Gab Podcast on the go. We're still out at the St. Louis Home and Garden Show, and we're interviewing folks out on the exhibit floor. Just being really, really fun. And it's really funny to watch all the people when we walk by, wonder what we're doing. I'm standing here with a friend I've known for quite a while in the industry, Pat Dodd, and good friends with you and your daughter.
Yes.
Multi-generational thing there.
There we go.
But Pat, you've been doing really cool stuff no pun intended, in heating and cooling for quite a while.
Yes.
But introduce yourself and your company and why you are here all the time.
Well, I'm here because I knew you'd be here, Marla, but other than that.
Listen to you.
Anyway, no, thank you for having me on. Our company is Dawson-Dodd Heating Cooling. We have the logo is We Heat and Cool the Impossible. We go after installations that a lot of contractors walk away from. We call it We Heat and Cool the Impossible. So we'll work in attics that are maybe 3 feet tall, installing a ducted system called Unico. It's high velocity, super efficient. The beauty of it is that you can have your home the same temperature throughout, the way it's designed. It's based on the Bernoulli principle is how it cools a room.
Oh, you're really making me think back. Bernoulli principle, gosh, thermodynamics?
I think so. That's what an engineer told me.
I have the engineering degree, but it's been a long time since I've used it.
Then we also, Mitsubishi ductless system is another of our specialties. They're exceedingly efficient. I always use the analogy, the average unit uses about the same amount of energy as running your refrigerator.
Wow. So a ductless system, how does the air get where it needs to be?
Well, there's multiple options. Like for display, we have a wall mount unit that can throw the air as far as 30 feet across a room, so you can do large areas. We have a floor mount unit on display, so some people don't like the aesthetics of the wall mount, so that'll blow the air down or up, whatever you like. It's a cassette model. These units meet the Ameren rebate qualifications, so the average SEER is at least 20 SER, so it's super efficient.
So explain an SER for us.
Seasoned Energy Efficient Rating is what it was based on by the AHRI, who determines the efficiency of systems and if they qualify under the guidelines for rebates.
So the higher the SEER,
the higher the SEER, the more efficient.
Okay, so what's the minimum anybody can buy right now?
The minimum now I think is 14. It was 13, now it's 14.
They did move it up.
Yeah, all my suppliers of minimum air conditioners are 14 SEER.
Okay, so a 20 SEER is really good.
20 SEER is excellent. Like this one in display is 20 SEER.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're great. They do a great job. We do furnaces and air conditioners like other contractors, but it's just that we look for something that's a little different, and we'll take on mostly any task, whatever it is, and we'll figure a way how to do it.
I think when I first met you, it was because you were working in some old homes in Clayton that we were working in when I was with a different company before I started this, and you had a little bitty ducted.
Right.
Is that the high velocity?
High velocity,
system?
yes. That's a high velocity. It's called Unico.
Yeah, I remember you saying that a lot of older homes, that was perfect for them because they didn't have to.
Right. You have to do any remodeling.
Old plaster walls, and it wasn't as invasive, I guess.
Right. In other words, the ductwork is only 3.5 inches in diameter, and you could fish that down to the closets to get to the lower levels. Okay. So, I mean, we just did a house in the city, and we put one system in and did all 3 floors.
So really good for hard
great.
Renovations,
No remodeling. None remodeling. We just used the closets to get down to the second floor and the first floor. And it turned out great. Customers are ecstatic. It turned out beautiful.
And with all the older multi-story homes in the Midwest, especially in Missouri and Illinois.
Yeah, and there's a lot of homes that have boiler steam and hot water, which is one of our specialties. You have no ductwork, so you have to design a system where you can air conditioning from the top down. Because trying to air conditioning from the bottom up doesn't remove the heat that's on the ceilings. So that's why you have warm second floors on 2-story homes.
Yep. Wow. Hey, I got a real education today.
Oh, that's all I know, though. So.
No, I do not believe that.
Okay.
Tell our listeners how they can find you. You mainly work in the Missouri, St. Louis,
Yeah,
Illinois
we work both
area?
sides of the river.
Okay.
In fact, ironically enough, half of the people that have been of our booth are from Illinois.
That's good.
There's a large contingency, and we work both sides of the river. Our phone number is 314-729-1934. My website, my address is Dawson-Dodd.com. I do service calls or sales calls on Saturday. In fact, I got one lined up for next Sunday already.
Wow. Love it.
Oh, we're busy.
Service with a smile.
Yes.
Well, hey.
And we'll do whatever it takes. And one thing we really try and do, as we stress, is that we want to do what makes a customer happy. We don't push a product. We just say, look, here's what we can offer, and just see if we can work it out from there.
There you go. And if folks give you a call wanting to know more about the products you carry, because they're not in the St. Louis metro area, Missouri, Illinois, you'd be able to direct them to folks in their part of the woods?
Yeah, if it's something in another area, we'd be happy. I mean, we had some people come in from Georgia today, so I spoke with an accent so they knew what I was saying. And I gave them a peach, too. But anyway.
You're too much.
Yeah.
You are a peach.
Yeah, you're too kind.
Go.
You're too kind.
Well, Pat, thanks for taking a few minutes to share with our listeners some of the really creative things going on in heating and cooling.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Marla. I've really enjoyed it, and I appreciate the opportunity to get the word out there. Thank you for all you do.
You are most welcome. And Green Gab Podcast or on iTunes, and have a rockin' green day.
That wraps up this episode of the Green Gab Podcast. Ready to use what you learned? Get the show notes with all the resources mentioned in this episode. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thank you again for listening and for leaving a review. And remember that living a little greener is easier than you think.